we're about to get started. For those of you out on social media and Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that, we'll let you know what's going on here in a moment after we let folks in. We have a fun guest for today who you probably can see. I'll make sure we're both spotlighting our videos so that it's easy to check us out. But yeah, we're going to get started chatting with her just in a moment, but letting people come in and populate the Zoom call. We're going to put a link out on social media so that you can jump in the Zoom call. We'll put that in the chat on YouTube and Facebook. You can click the link, and when you click it, you'll be able to register for the session and pop in here. You'll get an email with the Zoom link, and you can pop in here to the session of Piano Tech Radio Hour. And we'll get started in just a minute. Again, we like to give like a minute or two just to let people hang out. How are you doing today, Chantal?
It's everything good. Thank you.
Now, yeah, you and I'll start chatting. We'll get a little bit deeper into it now, but just as we're letting people pop into the session, really appreciate you joining us. And I love your accent. So we know we're meeting someone a little bit exotic for our audience, I suppose. Today we talked to a lot of people who are in the United States, but we do have a global audience. So we have people listening from all sorts of countries. What I want to do up front here is be a little bit mysterious about who you are and what you're going to talk about, because you do have a little bit of a presentation that we're going to get going on, and you'll introduce yourself, and we'll get a little bit deeper into it. So we'll be coy about it for now. But for now, we'll just say you have a lovely accent. Maybe we'll learn about it more. Are you from? Have you only lived in one country your whole life? Let's start there.
No, as of right now, in this moment, I'm in Sicily, in Italy.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
And is your accent completely an Italian one, or?
Yes, absolutely. I'm from Italy, even if my mom is Swiss. I'm a Swiss citizen, but I grew up in Italy, so I'm bilingual, yes.
Okay.
And I lived abroad anyways. I lived in Germany and also lived in New York for 5 years. So United States is my home too, in a way.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. I lived in New York as well. I forget whether we've talked about that before, but yeah, I lived in New York for several years. What area of New York did you live in? Did you live in Manhattan?
The first 2 years, and then I moved in a very beautiful area in the Bronx called Riverdale. So
okay. Yeah. There's a lot of piano activity up there in Riverdale as well. I think there's some piano dealers that have some warehouses and stuff. All right, yeah. Cool. Well, it seems like probably most people have shuffled in here. So I'll intro just where we are and what we're doing for folks that are new to things. And I'll just say, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. What we do here is we gather every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world. This includes manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. It's an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. And you can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to just this Saturday's session, which is Piano Tech Radio Hour, for just $16 a month. And that gets you direct access to each week's private Zoom call like this one, as well as the archival recording of this and over 175 episodes in our member area. And you could join that using the link bit.ly/joinptrh, bit.ly/joinptrh. We got some other educational things that are coming up here. Every third Thursday of the month, we do a masterclass. We're doing just finishing up a series on pedals, trap work, back action, and dampers with Joe Jackson. And so we'll put some links into the various chat places if you want to click and sign up for that. And we're also gearing up for a summer online convention. And so we'll make sure that you have info on how to get into that as well. But without further ado, let's start chatting a little bit more with you, Chantal. Let's get deeper into who you are. You'll do an introduction in your presentation, but what time is it there in Sicily?
Yes, it's 7 p.m. right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was your day? Did you have a good one? What is your day like?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, my day like, well, I'm a piano professor at university. So I'm not teaching at the university. I'm home practicing and working also a lot on the computer for my festival. But I run an international music festival. So they are pretty busy days. And then I try, of course, to enjoy a little bit of the time here in Sicily, which is very nice, I can tell you.
Yeah. And I just noticed you blurred your background. You're welcome to unblur that, because I know you do have a piano behind you that we weren't able to frame the scene so that you could see it, but she has a lovely Kawai piano there in her dwelling. Yeah, you can leave your background unblurred. We don't mind. It's not background.
No,
so whatever you prefer. But yeah, why don't you pop into your presentation so we can officially meet you and find out more about your background. You could do an introduction of yourself there. We think we'll be about maybe 20 minutes or something on that. And then we'll come back. We're going to follow up with some questions, talk to you a little bit more about who you are and what you do. And then we'll wrap up the session. So go ahead, share your screen and we'll get into it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope you can see it. I'm opening it again.
There you go. It's all loaded up.
Wonderful. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today for the Pianotech Radio Hour. And I thank you so much for the invitation of being here. So this, I'm also grateful because, as a pianist, and I have a relationship my whole life with piano technicians. And I think this is extremely important. And it was also for me a very important time to think a way in which I could think how to convey something, but might be some reflections useful for the people working in this industry. So this is why you see this title now, The Future of the Music Industry. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the present of the music industry and how it's going on and how things are evolving and how this can be absolutely beneficial to know in order to get new opportunities and also new ways to think differently with jobs. So I'm going to speak about that. And the reason why I'm doing that and I decided to speak about this topic is also about who I am, about my background. So the first thing I already said some things. I'm a concert pianist. So, which means I maintain my career concertizing around the world, in Europe, in the United States, but also in the other continents I work. And this is something really, really important in my life. And while doing that, I like also doing many other things. And it's important to be open for me and versatile in what I do. So I am a co-founder, an artistic director of International Music Festival where I'm from, in Lunigiana, which is in Tuscany, in Italy. And it's already 7 editions that I'm doing this. So 7 years I'm working on that. I'm a piano professor at the Music University. And this is something I've been teaching university level, college level also for 8 years. And I was the former president of the World Piano Teacher Associations in New York. And I worked when I was living there, because before I mentioned that I was living there. And also I'm a professor of music management. And one of the things I'm doing, it's because basically I got a degree in music management and through the Global Leaders Institute, and I'm part of a network of musicians who are also entrepreneurs. So as you can imagine, because of my experience working across different countries in different places around the world, and because of how it's important for me also this management part of the music industry. This is a topic which is really dear to me, and I'm very glad to have the opportunity now to discuss about it with you all that you are now listening to these presentations. So going to that. So what's available now? What's the music industry of the future? Okay, this is a question, as I said, that is extremely important. And this came up also actually by calling just my piano tuner, no? Because I think each pianist has, when we think about a piano technician, we have probably 1-2 person that pop in our mind because we have a very, very strong connection with them. And I was thinking, what's something that it's in common between me and you? And the thing what we have in common, of course, is not just knowing the piano and how to, make a beautiful sound out of it, how to improve the instrument that you have in front of you. But it's also, we are part of this big, big system, which is the music industry. And, and this is something I think it's really, really important to know. And no matter which kind of position you are in the music industry is something you need to be aware of. And so what's available? There are so many different kind of works. I'm not going over it today, but just to think that as I made an example for myself, but I'm a concert pianist, but I do many other things in the sense that I'm teaching also university. I'm also running a festival and I'm doing many other things related to this. It means that there are so many different possibilities. And this is something that we need to know. And also it's something that it's beneficial to know as piano technicians, because we can be many things. Many of the piano technicians run also like you are doing now. You have this podcast, or you have your own showroom, okay, for pianos and so on. So I know that this the world of the piano technician is very various, and there are many things going on. And in order to understand how the music industry is evolving, we need to have a broader idea in general about how the world is evolving. We cannot think that what's happening in the world does not affect our industry. It's everything, it's very connected. And so we need to be aware of that. And luckily, there are many books. There are many people working in economics and management that are doing researches in that. And I've been really, really amazed by a specific book by one economist from the London School of Economics, one of the professors there, who wrote this amazing book called Humanocracy, and who did a study on how the challenges are what we are facing right now between 2021. The 2021 is because of the year of the book when it was published until 2030. So basically from now up to the next 7-8 years, so how things are developing. And this, I'm going to say, it's a little bit a general review and things that we are facing right now that, as I said, are beneficial to know. So first of all, we know technology is really, really an important part of it, and also AI. And as we know, recently, let's just check what's going on with ChatGPT, for example. There is so much going on with AI, and this is very influencing. And in a certain way, it's very scary, because we ask ourselves what is going to be with our job if there is some technology which is going to be so good, but maybe in a way is going to take my place. Or it can be also the question how this particular technology can improve actually what I'm doing. And so there is let's say a good side and a bad side of these things, and something that it's more scary, and the other thing but say, oh no, it can be also a good thing. So then there is also, we need to take a look about the economy, how the economy is changing in general. And this is, we notice, we just need, I'm saying a very, very simple thing. So just let's look how in general in the world, in United States and Italy, rent is going a lot crazy. There are certain things in the market, the prices are increasing a lot in general. And so we have markups and bulk-ups increase. Markups means that there is a lot of difference between a product when it's taken by an industry and then sold again. So the price between the original price and the price of selling is increasing a lot. Bulk-ups also are increasing. So the fact that they are buying a lot of stuff and then reselling them. And we have also the fact about the mega mergers, oligopolistic. What does it mean? Mega mergers are this company that are merging into one. And there are many of them, but happening. This was a model, what was happening until now. While now things a little bit are changing because we have a little bit more of this oligopolistic vision, in which sense that there are many big companies that are collaborating together. So we are going more into this direction. There is no more a big company buying everything, but more collaboration between different kind of industry. And then the concept of bureaucracy is also evolving, this one. And each country, of course, have the different ways to see bureaucracy. I can tell you in Italy, for example, it's much more complex than it's in the United States, but then also for United States, there are certain things, but things we are trying, there is a general will to make things a little bit smoother and not as, let's say, step by step with very intense step to follow and sometimes very complicated and time demanding. So this is a change that is happening in the economy and that we need to be aware of. Then, of course, another very important topic is climate change. And this is something that we cannot deny. It's something that is clear, that is something that has been discussed in many different conventions. I wrote this Glasgow Climate Path, which happened some years ago, but this is something that we are thinking of and we need to deal with, and something to take in mind when we do our work and based on what we want to do. And then we have there is thankfully a lot of attention of the social environment. So this is more and more clear that there is a will to influence the communities that are around us, but in general, we want to make, let's say, the world a better place. And this is why UNESCO created this Sustainable Development Goals agenda. And it's something also to take in mind in general, and in the music industry, how things are developing, and to take in mind that these are very important steps, and it's something that we need to be careful of. And just as a reminder, I just did a picture of this sustainable goals. As you can see, there are 17 and regard different kind of things. And definitely, for example, as a musician and so on, there are so many things we can address of this sustainable development goals. There are so many things, and there are so many studies to say that, making music does not just help for for our health and everything, but can really improve our quality of life in general. So we have luck to have to be part of an industry that really can be very impactful and can really help in different ways. So having said all of this, these are things, as I said, there is a question on how to address them, because now I just did an overview in general on how things are impacting the society and the economy and in generally everything, and of course impact also the development of a different kind of industry. So I want to go into it. So we have an human approach. So for example, regarding AI, what I say international intelligence, artificial intelligence, we need to think, as I said before, is artificial intelligence something to go against, is something that we need to fear, or is something that we can deal with? And in this sense, we think that there are many ways in which actually we can think that technology cannot be an enemy of us, because technology has not all the human quality that we have. And this is something we really need to have in our mind, in the sense that certain things will never be possible to be replaced. And so we need to think about all of these things to actually make it as a strength for us and to help us. And at the same time, we need to think about the machine in the sense of artificial intelligence and in general, the technology, something that can be something helpful for us and not something against us. And then, of course, as a consequence, we need to pay attention about the inclusion and diversity, being aware we are in a complex world with people really from all around the world and with different kind of qualities, characteristics, and so on. So each personality, each individual can bring something unique, and it's something useful not just in a general relationship, but of course also in a work environment. And then also this can lead to, of course, an attention to our wellness, our well-being, and it's something that also we need to think about. Luckily, we speak a lot about mental health and so on. So this is something that it's related also to the aspect of being human with each other. And so a woman who has a good is doing well is automatically someone who can do something better to the society and feel more fitting into the society. And then, of course, this leads, all of this for sure leads to new work figures, because we have these challenges. We need to do something different because of these challenges. And so it creates a new work figures. And there are many different kind of new work that we can think of. There is a list. I wrote this, the Cognizance Center for Future Work and Future Workplace. It's company which created some of this work, and there is a listing, and I'm not going into that because just it will take so long to go into it, but just to say that there are studies just searching how there are new work figures and how this can be implemented in our industry. And then also there is the figure of micro entrepreneurs. What does it mean? But there are entrepreneurs that they are creating new things, and so each one of us internally in the music industry, whatever we're doing, whatever is our role, we are still entrepreneurs. It's not just someone who is doing a job is just ready to do that job, but each one of us is a creator in a way, and each one of us can influence the environment you are working in. And this is important because sometimes we feel like, when until now, traditionally, you have a job and then you're supposed to do that job. There are just certain skills you need to have, and you don't need to go beyond that. But this is very limiting and doesn't allow a growth and understanding where we can go. And so each one of us internally in a company or whatever system you are can be influential and can really help to develop new ideas and new ways of creating a new work and new experience inside the company or industry in general. Then we have another way to address all these challenges of paying attention to educations, because this, as I showed through what we saw before, is that we need to see that things are changing constantly. The music industry, like any other industry, is always evolving. And nothing is static, and things are going so fast right now for the things that we already mentioned. So we need to be ready for that. And for sure, if we have always opportunities to make sure that we continue to have a proper education and we get to know them better, it's good. So it's not anymore thinking, okay, now I did my studies and then I'm done. It's a life learning process. And this is especially true for our industry. I mean, a musician will never stop to learn, and as well, a piano technician. So it's absolutely related to us. And then, of course, as we need also some mentorship program, in the sense that we need someone to rely on and to be someone who can help us to understand where to rely on and how to get to know different kind of things and how to get updated and so on. And then last thing what we need to do is be ready for emergency, okay? And this is, what does it mean? It's exactly what I was saying before, in the sense that things are constantly developing and things are constantly changing. And of course, one of the most, let's say, obvious example is when we had COVID, when we had the pandemic going on, because there it was a clear example how things suddenly change and we need to adapt. Usually things are not like that. Usually, of course, change is required in different moments. It's not that we are forced to change because something globally happened. Sometimes things just change because there is a moment in which we need to understand there is a problem and a critical point and to go on beyond. But this is actually a very good point to start to create something new. And so how we can be ready. I wrote this word just to think about how to make this happen. And so we need to be flexible. We need to be creative in the sense of always searching for new ideas, and resilience in the sense that we need to find, in difficult moments, also a moment to reflect and say we can overcome that and finding actually some benefit from that. So this was all a general thinking about, as I said, how world is developing and how, of course, this is influencing our industry. So now I want to dive in a little bit more about how all of this reflection can actually help us to make some improvements in the work environment we are working in. And these are some points I wrote. So first of all, of course, we need to know the music industry, and there is so much. I mean, we could speak for so long. And so right now I'm just giving you some reflection to think about. And it's important to think about how the music industry is developing locally, nationally, internationally. And I wrote these 3 points specifically because we need to be aware of all 3. Because, of course, locally it's important because you need to know so well the place where you're operating with to create something new. But how you get the ideas, how you know how it's better to do it. Of course, by analyzing what's there, but if also by seeing what else they're doing in your country and very far away from your country or from a place where you're living. And this is essential. So to do a lot of research on what's going on, and we are so lucky that we have technology in this sense to help us. And so it's so easy to see what's going on and what we can do to improve our work. And then we need to reflect always on the relevance of our job and how it affects the community. So I give you an example. As I said, I'm from Tuscany, and I'm from a very, very small part of Tuscany. And there is not much going on. And this is one of the reasons why I created the festival there, not just because, of course, I strongly believe in the board of music and so on, but I felt that this was an ideal place to have a festival growing. And actually it was a successful one because in a few years, the festival grew really a lot and it got a lot of attention. So I know this affected a lot of the community. And going into details about piano technicians, we have a piano technician there, and he's the only one there because it's such a small community. And so there are not people at the moment. Unfortunately, this is a problem something is facing, interested in pursuing this job. And so he's basically the only one. And so it is is extremely relevant in a ways to this, but he has, of course, some challenges. And the challenge can be, when you are the only one, it's hard to schedule everything, to have everything under control, and making sure everything works perfectly because you are just one person. So you start asking your questions and so on. How I can improve my time management, and how can I find someone who can actually help me out in this and so on. So this is just to give you an example, but just to think how the work is important and how can really affect the people around you. And I will add also one thing I didn't write, but I think it's not just the community, but the people you are working with. And I think, for example, in the case I was saying, also related to what we said before, that in the case of my relationship between me and the piano tuner, my festival, which is actually also my piano tuner, because of course I'm from there, it's the human connection which is between us, and understanding how we are really relevant, not just for work, but on a personal level. And there is such a big, strong trust going on between this. And this is something, of course, that cannot be replaceable by anyone. And it's something that it's very special, I would say, about the job that we're doing. And now, what are the challenges that I can turn to my own advantage? So we know that there are so many challenges that we are facing, and some of them are really personal, like the one I just said before about my experience with the piano technician and my festival. It's very special in a way, but then there are the biggest challenges, the one we mentioned before about technology and so on. And so it's like how technology can be useful for me. How can I use this for my work? How this can happen? And one thing, for example, but it's happening right now. This is a good example how I can use something like a technology to my benefit to create something meaningful for also my community in general. And so this is why you're doing probably this podcast, I guess. So then also other things, there are probably, if you are something that for you it's important to think about is how can I make the world a better place, in a sense also for climate change and so on. So how can be this challenge is something I can bring into my work? There is something I can do to make sure I respect certain things regarding some guidelines regarding climate change, how I can help for that. And also all the other sustainable goals that I mentioned by UNESCO. So there is a lot to think about, and this is something I think deeply, but it's important to have in mind, as I said, to see how to develop and to think that the work, each work, but I will say the piano technician work, it's complex, and there are so many ways to do it, and it's also, as I said, a special work because of the connection, of the strong connection that there is between the musician and what you're doing and an instrument, and taking care a lot of the instrument, and there is so much to develop from that. And so there is so much things that can be done, which is not just thinking I stay on the piano and I become a better piano tuner, but there is so much beyond that can be done. So my final remarks are that we need, of course, to have this general knowledge that I already mentioned in the beginning, and this is what I give. And of course, specialization too at the same time, because of course, what makes you a better piano technician is knowing well the job and get more into deep how to manage the instruments and how to make the work better. We need to be aware of how important is this human connection. And so we need to be aware that it's important to build this relationship, to maintain them, because this makes the difference. Because it's not just the skills, but of course this is extremely important, because without the skills it cannot be then a fruitful collaboration. But then the human connection is extremely important to make a win-win situation. And we need to be open and have a self-knowledge of ourselves, what we want, how we can think we can fit better into the society to make it a better place, and then the creativity, have ideas on how to create new things, new projects, and put them into our work. And then, of course, I concluded with a very strong sentence, just say that every day we can, start doing something new, and we can create something that can be very useful for us and for the other people. And we can start anytime, starting even from today. So this is the end of my presentation. And thank you. I thank you again very much. I left my email here. And if you have any questions, I'm absolutely available. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Yeah. And that's Chantal Balestri at lunigianamusicfestival.com. But yeah, we can take that and pass it around as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very inspiring. And I think when I compare it to what we might typically talk about, on this particular program, we'll talk about technical things or business things. But I think one of the quotes that gets tossed around in our industry, and I forget where it came from. I know one of our lead technicians, Dale Irwin, I think at least used it. I don't know if he originated it, but he said, "I can teach you how to do something, but I can't teach you how to care." And I don't know. I thought of that when I thought of why would a piano technician start thinking about, these sustainable development goals, for example, and that has anything to do with what I do, and when that's where it came back to me to say, well, that's, if you're thinking about ways in which your profession, whatever it is, but if it's piano technician or piano industry person, connect to these type of really meaningful goals, these global goals, that's where you learn how to care. You learn that you have something to care about. You learn that you can matter. You learn where you have a place in the system, and it helps you find some meaning in what you're doing, I think, potentially. Yeah. So, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the presentation. So we'll talk maybe about those sustainable development goals a little bit more. I thought that would be interesting, but let's go back to the, so you have a very interesting background, so many different fields, you're kind of like in working with entrepreneurs, you're a musician, you're thinking entrepreneurially as a musician, trying to start projects and things like this. Tell me about that process and that moment of, oh, I'm going to have a festival. I'm going to have a festival, because I can imagine I've put together some events, some online events, even some in-person events, all the way up to being on a team that put on an event with thousands of people attending it. But that's very intimidating depending. So tell me about that moment where you decided that you wanted to take that on, and sort of how hard was it to decide that you could do it, and pull together the process?
Thank you so much for this question. So first of all, I didn't start the festival without having any experience at all before, because creating your own festival, it's really huge in the sense that, especially when you start and you started small, in the sense that you don't have already a team, you're not part of an existing organization, but you're creating a new one. It requires really, really, really knowledge of a lot of skills, and you really need to know many things. So you get to know many things. So first of all, I collaborated before for other festivals. I was a promoter for other international festivals, and I created some small concert series. So I had the opportunity to get to know about it, but I need to say that all the official, let's say, academic knowledge I got it later. So I directly learn everything by experience, directly by doing. Okay, so this is important to say. And the moment in which I decided the festival, actually, it's pretty funny to say, in the sense that it depends on the personality of things. And I just was very. I felt like I wanted this a lot, very much. And I had a conversation with a colleague of mine who became then my co-founder of the festival. I wasn't alone. And we shared that we really wanted to create something meaningful for the place where we are from. As I said before, in Lunigiana, this north part of Tuscany. And it's an amazing place. There is a lot of history, nature. It's just beautiful. But there is not a lot of culture, at least back then. There was not a lot of culture going on. And we both felt that something was needed, and since both of us had some experience and we strongly believed we have the same values, we decided to do that together. And I think also this is important to mention, because probably I need to say I would have not started alone myself. I'm not saying that, of course, people cannot start alone by themselves, but I felt I was extremely lucky to have some companionship in that. And it was a lot of learning from each other's, and this gave me a lot of strength, and we were able to divide nicely the work. And also because we are completely from two different generations, and he, for example, he had more than 20 years of organizing events and so on. So, and at the same time, but he always lived in Italy. And I was living in New York. So at the same time, I had a lot of overseas experience. And I had many other things that he didn't experience, even if he had, let's say, in terms of years, more experience than me. But certain things he didn't even know. So we were able to combine our knowledges together and to create something. So definitely this was a very, very good starting point. And we just took the decision and went with it. We didn't think too much. And in a way, I think you need to have a little bit of this not thinking too much, because if you start thinking about everything you're going through, then you are a little bit hesitant to start.
Yeah. As my PhD advisor told me, if I told you how hard it was going to be, or if you knew how hard it was going to be before you got started, you wouldn't get started.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing about that. I'm also curious, just as like for your professional life. So clearly you're a teacher at a university, and I'm going to ask you some questions about basically income. So you don't have to share, as I'm not trying to prod, but based on what you said, I'm curious how you look at your professional life, like how you're going to bring income just to run your life. Like, do you think about it like, oh, I get all my income from being a teacher at a university, and then everything else I just don't worry about it, or I feel like I need to do that and then have all these things on the side that I'm building? How do you think about that, given what you said about being kind of entrepreneurial?
That's actually a good question. And so, of course, my salary at the university gives me some good base. And one thing I need to mention is university in Italy is amazing. I'm saying this, because it's very different from university system in the United States, in the sense that it's a full-time job, but you basically work, you have some hours to do during the year, and you manage them in the way you want. So I teach usually 2 days a week, and sometimes I leave for 1 month for concerts, and I'm allowed to do it. So it's very, very different from American system. Mm-hmm. And so this gives you a lot of room to do many other things except beside teaching. So this is important to mention, because this gives me a lot of time to really work on my concert career and on the festival. Otherwise, I will not have the opportunity to do it, or at least it will be much more difficult, let's say, to balance everything. So, of course, the fact that I know I have my monthly salary gives me some peace of mind, and I know this is a good base. So whatever happens, this is an entrance I have. But of course, for my concert, of course, it's also a very important part of my income when I travel. For the festival, this I would say, but also the fact that I had already this good income coming didn't put me the stress to absolutely see the festival as a source of income for me. And so right now I'm working on volunteer basis, but this is a choice I made. It doesn't mean that potentially the festival could not become a source of income, but it's just a choice I consciously made. I said, now the festival right now, it's not something I see it as a main income thing. And I want right now the money that I'm able to raise for the festival and to use it for the people participating to the festival, or for doing as many things as I can with the budget that I have available. But this is absolutely a choice that I have, and I already thought about it. Maybe my future might change, but right now I'm okay with the balance I found in this moment.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Let's go back to, I want to go back to those sustainable development goals because I thought it was interesting that you shared them. There's something that I've definitely heard of before, just in various endeavors. And I wouldn't know how much our piano technicians community does come across that. I mean, clearly they're probably going to be hearing about it on the news here and there. It just depends on the individual. So it might be worth just stepping through actually what those are, and then maybe thinking about each of them just for a moment. I thought it'd be interesting. It's funny because I was searching online for a place to copy paste the list so I could look at it, and they always seem to be showing it in those little graphics. It was actually hard to find a place where I could copy and paste the words. But yeah, I mean, let's just cycle through the list and maybe together for a moment, we'll think about how each of these might affect, and you'll know less than me, the piano technician specifically. But okay, so number one, I guess I'll read through all of them and then we'll see if we have a minute to come back. So number 1 is no poverty. Number 2, zero hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being. 4, quality education. 5, gender equality. 6, clean water and sanitation. 7, affordable and clean energy. 8, decent work and economic growth. 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. 10, reduce inequalities. 11, sustainable cities and communities. 12, responsible consumption and production. 13, climate action. 14, life below water. 15, life on land. 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And 17, partnerships for goals. So it's actually quite a lot. There's 17 there. And you could see there's probably some overlap between them. And it's interesting that they are also very clear isolated areas. So you could have something like clean water and sanitation, and you can also have, sustainable cities or responsible consumption or climate action, and clearly attacking each of those things can affect the others. But I don't know, looking at the top there, no poverty, I think, how can I, as a piano technician, address that issue? There's certainly places where I could decide to donate or something like that, but or volunteer. But I think there's other ways, if you think about it, in the fact, a couple of ways that I might think, there's some musicians out there that there's a story of a musician who came to my attention, who lived in New York. You probably are familiar with him, but you may not know his name. Chad Huggins. I think his name is Chad Huggins, and he's the guy that plays piano in Washington Square Park.
Yes.
Are you aware?
Absolutely.
And apparently, as of late, he's come across quite some hard times, especially within the pandemic, and basically got kicked out of his apartment. He's having mental health issues and just really struggling. He had to move back with his parents, all these different things. Some articles were written about it, not Chad, Colin Huggins. But I think it may not be as clear. It's probably more clear to us than a lot of other people how there's musicians that aren't doing so well economically. They haven't figured out exactly, what you figured out in terms of how to make ends meet and pull a bunch of things together and be entrepreneurial and so on and so forth. So, even if it's just as simple as saying, let me have a tuning scholarship that I grant, one or two people a year. I just do a free tuning for them because they're a great musician and they deserve a little bit of a break. And then also just another piece of that, because poverty in the United States is probably not so bad compared to some other countries, right? I'll highlight one project I'm familiar with called Send a Piano to Havana, where a piano technician actually got pianos and shipped them to Cuba and would bring piano technicians there to kind of provide quality instruments that were tuned and put together and all those sort of things. So, if you give it a little bit of a thought, you can think about ways that we can start to get involved and use our skills to address these things. Yeah. Any thoughts that come up for you? I can almost see maybe you've got some other ideas. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I give you an example. I didn't say, because I actually do many things. I have also a project in Kenya. It's called Music Kenya. And the project, it's a program for music educators. It's let's say a 1-month program to help developing some skills in pedagogy, in performance, so on, because there is a lack of professional music teachers, and most of them are self-taught. So the level, of course, the quality of education cannot raise too much because of this. And one thing, of course, by doing this, I'm a pianist, so I care about the pianos and finding good piano technicians. And I had many issues in finding piano technicians there. Finally, I was able to find one who lives in Nairobi. And he told me that basically he became a piano technician just because this piano technician from the US came there. And he was there for some time, and he talked to him. And then this piano technician opened a school, a small school there. So he has a few people coming to learn this. And it's extremely important that, because of course there are pianists, but most of them are not taking care. They're not taking care because, and also in bad places, for example, for weather reason, I mean, you can imagine the humidity and so on, it's extremely hard to keep a piano in tune and in shape in general. So we need a lot of work to be done. And so, there are many different projects that you can do. And in many different countries in the world, you can go and help. Oh, I have a way to have someone coming to your country to help them out to learn, finding some donors. I mean, there are ways to address these things. Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me when I lived in Peru for a while, and I did this project where I would tune pianos for free and visit people and sort of explore the culture there. And that was a very powerful project for me. We'll be wrapping up here soon. I might maybe just mention maybe one more of these goals and how I can think of piano technicians addressing it. So number 12 is responsible consumption and production. So we brought this up a little bit recently, but one of Joe Jackson, who I mentioned, who's teaching our damper, trap work, back action, and pedal and pedals master classes. Now he has a whole shop in St. Louis, and one of the things there is he doesn't sell new pianos on purpose. He wants to take older pianos from the community and refurbish them and make sure that they stay in the cycle and don't just get thrown away. And he also will take away people's pianos and discard them responsibly and sustainably. So he has methods where he actually takes the pianos apart and maybe uses some of the pieces and makes sure they get discarded in a way that's ecologically friendly. So just another way, when you look at these type of goals, how can you address them? That's another way. Any last words from you before we start wrapping it up and signing off for today?
No, I wanted just to thank you. Yes, this is exactly the way, the kind of reflection I wanted to inspire. So I'm very glad to hear that you're responding, and I hope this is useful. That there are so many different projects, but maybe we don't know, because of course there's so many things going on. So we keep an eye always on what's going on in the world, and we do research, and we try it. It's very inspirational, and at least for me, it gives me a lot of satisfaction knowing that I'm doing something that helps profoundly the people around me or a community I want to help. So just wanted to mention this again as an ending.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I'll follow up and just say, I know for myself, there's lots of ways that I want to help and try to help. And I think that one of the things that I struggle with sometimes, just admittedly, is that there's a little bit of cynicism that, emerges in me. I'm going to do that. Is it going to help? Do people going to appreciate it? Is it actually doing something? But I think the more we get this energy from others of positivity around this, and optimism and ideas about how to execute and all these things, it provides a lot to help make these things happen. And just inside my own heart, just thinking, what, if you try something and it doesn't work, at least you tried. It's better than not doing anything, right? So you can always feel good about giving this type of thing your best shot. All right. Well, I will start to sign us off here. We've reached. Oh, you know what? Before we sign off, maybe just repeat where people should go to learn about you, mention some of the projects or things that they should follow or check out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, I'm active on social media. So just searching my name, Chantal Balestri. But if not, my email is chantal.balestri@lunigianamusicfestival.com. And of course, there is the website of my festival, Lunigiana International Music Festival. You can easily find it on Google just by it. The next edition is going to be in next July. And we have, it's going to be a very, very intense week of concerts, activities, seminars too. And so, yes, basically this.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks so much. We've reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks again from Chantal Balestri. I'm trying to sound it out. I'll spell it out for people who want to look it up. ChantalBalestri, if you're just listening on audio. Thank you for joining us today. As well, we're brought to this program is brought to us by Piano Technicians Master Classes, and we want to thank the audience as well for being here. And PTM delivers cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. If you guys joined us just today, signing up for just one session, you can make your life convenient. You could subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour, $16 a month, as we mentioned up front. You get the recording of this session in our member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session, as well as our archive of over 175 recordings. And you can sign up for that at bit.ly/joinptrh, bit.ly/joinptrh. And I think that's a wrap for today. So thank you all very much. We'll see you again next time.